What is good, and welcome back to the Waltz Freestyle Trick Tip, where every episode we break down a freestyle skateboarding trick for you to learn right now. Now, you might not be familiar with freestyle skateboarding, and if you're not, it usually looks a little bit like this.
I'm your biggest fan, but I guess that's just not good enough.
Now, in this episode, I want to cover a freestyle trick that I get a lot of questions about, and that is the Pogo. But there's a lot of different ways to Pogo, so I actually want to cover 5 of the easiest ways to get into Pogo for beginners. That's 5 tricks you can learn that all have to do with standing on the trucks. So let's jump right in. We've got the truck stand to start. Now, I did a trick tip for this trick way back in the day when I did my first 5 freestyle tricks trick tip, and I'm gonna give you a little bit more insight on how to practice this trick. Now, the truck stand is pretty self-explanatory. You do it by stepping up onto the truck with the board upright vertical and with one hand grabbing the nose of the board. You then flip the board half a rotation to land back on the grip tape with all 4 wheels down. That is a extreme oversimplification of the truck stand, so let's break down exactly what is happening during this trick. Now, the truck stand is sort of the proto-Pogo. It's not quite a Pogo trick, but it starts the exact same way as every other trick we're going to talk about today. And that is with your front foot pinning the nose of the board down on the ground, with your foot kind of dangling off to the side, not even on the board necessarily, and with your back hand, for me it's my right hand, gripping the tail of the board with my thumb on the grip tape and my fingers wrapped around the underside of the tail. Now, I'll begin by swinging the board upright and switching the board from being in my back hand to being in my front hand. I'm sort of handing the board across my body and pulling it upright and vertical so that it is then in my left or front hand. Now, as I'm doing that swing with the board, I'm also going to be stepping up onto the truck with my back foot. This might be the most difficult part of the truck stand and also kind of the most difficult part of the Pogo as a whole.
Why is life so hard?
There's a lot happening there, and that timing can be kind of tough. But what I find is it might help to break down this first step by practicing just switching the board from your back hand to your front hand on its own without any of the foot step stuff. And once you have that down, practice the step up on its own as well. Now, when you step onto the truck, you'll want to have your ball of your foot on the base plate of the truck. Notice that I'm not standing with my heel on the truck. I'm not standing with my feet on the wheels. I'm trying to have my foot on that big flat section of the base plate. Now, at this point, your foot is on the truck and the tail of the board should be in your front hand. That is my left hand in this example. We're not going to hop. We're not going to do any fancy tricks. From here, we're just going to dismount and land back on all 4 wheels. To do this, you'll want to drop the board down, lowering the angle of the deck and lifting the knee of your front leg so that your foot is just above the board. From here, you'll give a little bit of a hop with your back foot while flipping the board away from you in a heel flip direction, 1/2 of a rotation. Try to land with your feet over the bolts so that you are nice and stable. And then, do a spin, do some footwork, take off your sunglasses and stare at the camera. Now, there are a few things that you absolutely do not want to do when you're learning the truck stand. One major mistake that I see a lot of new freestylers doing is they will koala the board. What I mean by that is that they will grip the board, they'll pinch the board between their feet, and they'll grab the board with both hands, and they'll sort of look like a koala grabbing onto a tree branch. If you keep your back foot on that truck and let your front foot kind of dangle and hang out behind you, it can help you to counterbalance your shoulders, keep you in a more comfortable position in the truck stand. And if you're having trouble with this trick, you can also practice the dismount on its own by setting up and trying to balance on the truck for a split second and then dismounting without any of that first half of the trick. If you can do the first half and the second half on their own, the next step is just to combine them and do them all together to knock out the perfect truck stand. And once you've got the truck stand down, you can move on to Pogos, that is handed Pogos. So I was originally going to call this video Why Your Pogos Suck, but I'm actually not going to do that because we're going to teach you exactly how to do these the right way before you even start doing them wrong so that they never suck. You're going to have the best Pogos. Now, essentially, a Pogo is a truck stand. However, your backhand is going to slap onto the side of the board to keep it stable, and you are going to hop. You're going to hop. That's why we call it a Pogo, right? It's that easy. So if you take that entire first section of that last trick tip Your foot is on the truck and the tail of the board should be in your front hand. That is my left hand. That's where we're gonna start with the pogo, because the pogo is done by grabbing the board on the nose while in a truck stand with your front hand on the top of the nose with your fingers wrapped around the grip tape and your thumb on the underside of the deck. And by grabbing the board also with your backhand on the side of the board, that's where I like to have my hand at least, with the palm or heel of my hand touching the wheel. And again, with your front foot kind of dangling behind you to counterbalance your shoulders. This is like the ideal position to be in for pogos for me. I know some people like to grab the truck of the board while they're doing their pogos. That's fine. But the goal is to keep the board stable during the pogo. Now, to do the hop of the pogo, what we're gonna do is jump with your foot, that is the foot that's on the truck, give it a little bit of a hop, while simultaneously pulling the board up with your hands. Now, if you are a regular to the freestyle trick tip, you'll remember the yo-yo hop. The yo-yo hop is pretty much the same idea as the pogo. You'll be jumping and pulling the board up to meet your feet. So with both hands on the board and with one foot on the truck, you'll be hopping up, pulling the board up to meet your foot, and then landing back on the truck, hopefully in the exact same position you started in. When you're finished hopping, you can dismount from the pogo in the exact same way you did with the truck stand, by giving a little half flip in the heel flip direction, picking up your knees and landing with your feet over the bolts. Now there's two key factors when you're learning the pogo that you need to focus on. One, keep your board stable. However you need to hold the board, your hand on top with one hand on the side, or maybe with one hand on top, one hand on the truck. Maybe you like having both hands on the sides. Whatever it is, as long as it's stable, that's good. Another key factor with pogos is to do small hops. Some people like to really do big pounding jackhammer hops with pogos, and these aren't pogo sticks, these are skateboards. So those will only serve to destroy your board. By focusing on balancing on the tail and giving small hops when doing the pogo, you'll be able to keep your balance and actually help you to realign yourself and stay balanced in that truck stand. And once again, I'm gonna say this over and over again, but do not koala the board. That other foot, the foot that's not on the truck, should be dangling behind you and counterbalancing your shoulders. And one more thing that you absolutely don't want to do with handed pogos is keep the board too vertical. By angling the board out, keeping it at a closer angle to the ground, it will be easier for you to have your foot in a comfortable position on the truck. Unlocking pogos means you've now unlocked a gateway to truck transfers, to truck dancing. Combinations like butter flips or kick flips into pogo, all kinds of stuff. One really cool variation you can start with is the running man or the switch foot pogo. Now this is done in a very similar way to the pogo that we just finished talking about. However, you're going to be switching your feet, that is hopping from your back foot on the truck to having your front foot on the truck while the board is hopping below you. Now for this variation, you're gonna want to make sure that the board is very stable in your hands. Now after a few hops in pogo, you will just jump and quickly switch to having your front foot on the truck. It's as simple as that, honestly. You can also practice doing pogos only on the front foot. That is starting a pogo on the back foot, hopping a few times, and switching and doing a couple of pogos on the front foot. You can finish the trick by flipping back down, just like we talked about in the first truck stand trick tip, and landing with all four wheels down. If you're feeling a little shaky with the switch foot pogo, I would suggest practicing just the pogo without any of the intro stuff or any of the switching of the feet. After you are a little bit more comfortable hopping on the front foot, you can practice doing that switch that we talked about. That's already 3 tricks. Oh my gosh, we're moving quick, y'all. Now, if you're still hungry for more, we can talk about the no-handed pogo. Now, the no-handed pogo works similarly to the handed pogo. However, you're holding the board upright by pinching the deck between your feet while your back foot balances on the truck. Hopping is done by jumping while the board is pinched between your feet. I personally didn't learn the no-handed pogo until I was riding a single kick freestyle board, and those can make no-handed pogos much easier. But this definitely isn't a trick that you need to have a special board for. There's just certain variations that will be easier on freestyle setups. So to begin the no-handed pogo, you will start with your front foot pinning the nose down on the ground. From here, you'll pull the board upright, just like the truck stand. However, you won't throw the board into your front hand. Instead, once the board is vertical, you can step onto the truck with your back foot and pin the board against your back leg with your front foot. If you focus on keeping your ankles together, with the boards sandwiched between them, you'll be able to keep the board stable and between your legs in a comfy position. The more straight your posture is, the more easy it will be to balance in this position. From here, you want to start hopping because hopping is going to keep you balanced. Try to lead the hop with your shoulders and give tiny little hops. The smaller the hops, the better for these no-handed pogos. And if you have the board pinched properly between your feet, the board should jump with you, and you should be able to land with your foot in the same position you started in. After a few hops, you can dismount by leaning in the direction of the wheels and allow the board to drop back onto the wheels. Finally, if you are having trouble getting the hop, I would definitely suggest breaking this trick up. You can practice by stepping up onto the pogo and just doing the hop without any of that intro stuff. And finally, once you are crushing all of these tricks, you can step it up and try the saran wrap. Now the saran wrap is a sort of flashy way to jump into a pogo, and it can be a nice little flourish for when you're trying to impress your friends. The saran wrap is done by wrapping a foot around the board as you're stepping up into a pogo. Now the first half of this trick works kind of like the truck stand we talked about. From here, instead of just balancing on the truck in a truck stand, you will begin to wrap your front foot around the tail, sort of threading your front foot in between the deck and your back leg. Once you've kicked that foot forward enough, you'll want to let go of the board with your front hand, allowing the board to rock into the position of a no-handed pogo. If you want to be like Rodney Mullen, you can do 50 saran wraps. Truck dancing is so hard. It's something that a lot of people specialize in. And pogo tricks are kind of their own subcategory in freestyle. In fact, a lot of the tricks we're going to talk about in the freestyle trick tip have their own little subcategories. Some skaters are really great at truck dancing. The beauty of freestyle is that you can kind of find your niche and find certain trick types that really speak to you, and you can go as deep as you want in that direction. Or you can be the kind of skater who learns all types of tricks, and you've got a ton of variations of truck tricks and rail tricks and rolling finger flips and whatever else. So I hope you're learning a lot. I hope you're finding your own voice on your board, and I hope these tricks can help you to figure out what you love about skating. So until next time, keep being good to each other, keep helping each other learn, and keep dancing. Here's a bunch more variations of pogo tricks that you can go out and learn, and if you need more help with these, feel free to comment below. Thanks everybody. I think I already said keep dancing, but yeah, again, keep dancing. We'll see you soon for another one of these. Bye.